Thanks for the support as a channel member, Jacob Depew. Yes, I cut my own hair. Yes, I missed some of the bits at the side. We don't need to discuss it. What else was I supposed to do? It was growing a lot. Don't pick on me in the comments. Hello and welcome to Club 5, Part 4 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have, I would have liked to have said it was going to be a midway through the season title decider thing against Borussia Dortmund. However, they're still 10 points clear of us. And we're also playing Werder Bremen as well, who less threatening, hopefully. Since you were last with me, I think we've sorted out our dynamics problems, although it's still only good team cohesion, so hopefully we're going to get even better. And we have started to put together some form. We are suffering from two things. One, how poor our start to the season was. This first 6 or 7 games has really cost us in this title race. But also, the fact that Dortmund seem absolutely unstoppable. As you can see, we've been unbeaten for getting on for over 3 months at this point. Oh no, it is exactly 3 months. The last time we lost was against Augsburg on the 14th of September. It's now the 14th of December. We haven't lost in any competition since then. There's been a couple of iffy draws. I guess Leipzig, not particularly iffy, but Salzburg 0-0 at home in the Champions League is a game I would have liked to have won. Freiburg is, again, there's been a couple of times it's been a little iffy, but by and large, we're playing very well. But Dortmund still haven't lost a game yet this season. We've got to go to their place and try and change all that. Easy peasy. We have changed up the system. We're still with the vertical tiki-taka, but for most of that unbeaten run, we have gone back to a 4-3-3, and I think this is my settled system now. We started the season with a 4-3-3 gegenpress. We did spend a little bit of time using the vertical tiki-taka diamond that we used at Tottenham, and now I've kind of mushed the two of them together, and I think we do have a system now that suits our players. It's just a shame it took me a little while to find. And like I say, it has cost us. I guess if we can beat Dortmund home and away, which is a big if when they're unbeaten, but if we can beat them twice, that 10 points becomes 4 points. And then we just need them to slip up while we carry on in good form. So it's not completely over just yet. That being said, if we don't win this game against them today, I think any hopes of winning the title are gone at that point. The board seem reasonably happy. They remember we only have to challenge for the title this year. I'm not sure if being 13 points behind at Christmas counts as challenging. We'll see what they say, but they're satisfied at the moment, presumably because we're up in third place. We were in second place, but Hoffenheim played earlier in the day and jumped back above us again. So we were second at the start of Saturday. So this is the team we're putting out there. We've got Ferron in goal, a back four of Krajzu, Haman, Tigges and Dombrowski. I'm still not used to saying these names because it's all usually in my head. And we've got Vermonti at the base of the midfield, Lust and Burke ahead of him. And then Van der Hoek, I'm told it is Van der Hoek, not whatever I was trying to say. Gashi behind Thorgerson up front. And I know that's supposed to be Togerson or something, I've been told. And Thumb is supposed to be Toom. I can't handle all of those, but Van der Hoek I can convince myself to say that. The rest of them far too complicated for me. Let's get into the game. Let's hope for a result. Like I say, we've been in good form for a long time, but Dortmund have been absolutely sensational this year, despite us taking their two best players. I think it does kind of illustrate probably how weak the Bundesliga is, and how if we do sort ourselves out, we shouldn't have too much trouble winning it fairly consistently from next season onwards. But I do worry that we might have just left it a little bit too late to get going this year. I guess we'll find out today just how close we are to this lot to see if they're as good as they look, or it might just be that there's only two good teams in the division. It's us and them, and that's why they're unbeaten. Thorgerson trying to break through against his former club. He's got into a decent position here out wide, wins the ball again there. This is brilliant from Thorgerson. Cross comes in. Gashi tried to get there, but it wasn't quite on top of his head, unfortunately. But Dombrowski continues the run, plays it across to Lust. Lust shoots, and it's just wide. I guess he's supposed to be Dombrowski rather than Dombrowski. Is that how you say W's in German? Am I mixing languages up? There's too many languages in the world. It'd be much easier if we just all talked English. Then I'd understand what was going on, and I wouldn't have to figure all this stuff out. But we have a corner for Dortmund. It comes across and Ferron holds onto it very comfortably, but then lumps it forward for some reason. He is on a specific instruction to I think we've probably got distribute quickly, but also distribute to centre-backs, and I guess he had to decide which one to go with there. Decision making, that was the wrong choice. Just hold on to it for a second so that we can just play that out to our centre-backs and keep hold of the ball, because lumping it forward like that, never going to be a good plan. We're approaching half-time. It's been a very even game so far, but that all does kind of play into the hands of Dortmund. They're in this huge position of strength where they're going to be much happier with a 0-0 than we are. We've got to come here and try and find a way to win the match, but it's not a game we'd necessarily expect to win at the start of the season, so it's a difficult one. We've been the better team. Keep doing what you're doing. We'll be fine. There you go. We'll say that to them. I do feel like we've probably got a Bayern, we're Bayern. I'm still trying to say it right. They're Dortmund. I think there's a Dortmund goal coming, although they're uninterested currently. So let's use that opportunity to get creative. I've inspired my team against uninterested opposition. There's a couple of them who've become motivated by my inspiration, it seems. But we're now 20 minutes from the end. No highlight yet in this second half, and some of our attackers really struggling to get anything resembling a performance out of today. Antonio Carlos has been spending a lot of time playing out as an inside forward on this left wing, so we're going to bring him on to play there again. What is he, 6'7"? No, he's the one who's 6'5". There's someone else in the squad who's 6'7", I think. Is it Dombrowski? Yeah, I knew we had a very tall player who charges up and down the wing. Well, we've now got very tall players on both sides, but I'm hoping, having the big lad on, Thorgerson's it's not as big as I thought it was, 5'10" for Thorgerson, but with Gashi and Dombrowski charging down this side, whipping crosses over for these two, that might be a route to goal. Thorgerson also not playing particularly well, but we're going to leave him on just because he's the former Dortmund player. So there's always a chance of the goal against former club thing. On that basis, we're going to bring Andre on in midfield as well, who's struggled to nail down a position in this team after spending £100 million on him. I didn't realise Marquez and Burke were quite as good as they apparently are. So I don't know that we necessarily needed to go and spend big money on him, other than it was weakening Dortmund. But as we can see by the league table, it hasn't weakened them very much, taking their two best players away. We're going to bring Thumb on for the last 10 minutes or so, in the hope that I spent a lot of money on him. He might want to pay back some of that. Let's show some passion. 10 minutes of passion to finish things off. I don't want to go more attacking because a draw is better than losing. I'm a little bit afraid of a defeat. A 0-0 in any other circumstances, we'd call a good result away from home against a team way ahead at the top of the league. We've still got to play them at home. We're just going to have to hope they have a really rough patch. And if they don't, it was just, we arrived new at a club. It took us a little while for the new signings to settle in, for the new tactic to get going. If we don't win the league this year because they're having an exceptional season, then so be it. As long as we're competitive, we can go on and win it next year. And we are, of course, still in the Champions League as well. And we topped our group in the Champions League. So we've turned into a good team. We just have to hope that we continue our good form and that they slip up at some point. So it is Champions League draw time. We've been seeded along with a Tottenham through and seeded. A Tottenham not seeded. Tottenham not seeded. So this is where we could face Spurs. I still think it's going to be a Bayern Munich Spurs final. Maybe not this season, but I think our first Champions League final will be against Spurs. I can just feel it. But let's draw the teams. We could be playing them now. Porto against Atletico. Here's Spurs. This is probably going to be us. Inter against Spurs. PSG we want to avoid, but we've got them because we had the little delay. We're going to have to do it the hard way. I think we played PSG at this stage last year with Spurs, so it's not impossible for us to negotiate our way past them. It's just going to be a little bit challenging. Where do the board expect us to finish in the Champions League? They're expecting a quarter-final. So we've got to make it past PSG, especially if we're not going to be winning the league this year. We're not worried. You're worried. It's happening. No longer undefeated. If we can pick up a win here, that 10-point gap becomes a 7-point gap. So final game before the winter break. I forgot we had a winter break in Germany. So this is our last game for a month. And we've got a couple of friendlies in there. And what it does mean is that I can jump through probably all the way to the Champions League game rather than coming back at the end of the transfer window. Not that we've got any money to spend in January unless we sell, and we have pretty much no one left to sell. So I think we probably spent enough money in the summer anyway, so there won't be much of a transfer situation going on. But we do have to play Werder Bremen, just before we go for our winter break. We've changed the midfield up a little bit. Marquez and Burke are going to be together in midfield. So it doesn't mean Lust drops down to the bench. Lust is our best midfielder, but he doesn't quite fit into this system. This, as a 3, they're all perfectly green circled. Look at all these beautiful full green circles. Forget the fullbacks. Fullbacks are stupid. But it's difficult to fit him in. Probably didn't need Vermonti, but then Lust can't play at the base of the midfield. He wants to play further forward. So we obviously needed Vermonti. Vermonti is awesome. So we have switched to an attacking mentality today as well. I do expect nothing but a win from today's game. Werder Bremen are down in 12th place. So it is a game you would expect us to be able to win. And like I said before, if we do win, we narrow that looked like that was over the line. It finally does go over the line from Thorgerson, but I think the initial header was over the line as well. We don't need to worry about the little telly. We're fine. We'll take the goal, and we want Thorgerson to be top scorer as well. So I'd rather he had it than Harmon, who I think is with the initial header definitely over the line. Gashi hits the post and then forces the save as well. So we had 4 attempts there, but we did finally force it over the line, and that's the point I was trying to make before. If it ends as it is now, we're only 7 points behind Dortmund. We're catching them as far as goal difference goes. It is all to play for in this second half of the season, as long as we can keep the form that we've had for the last 10 games or so when we've been playing very, very well. Of course, job not done yet against Werder Bremen, so we do have to do the whole guard against complacency thing that you always have to do when you're 1-0 up. But fingers crossed, we'll grab a couple more goals and narrow down that goal difference even more. Vermonti looking to get things going, but end up playing it all the way back to Tigges. Vermonti again, this time looking for Van der Hoek, can't quite find him, but Kreizu's there. And Vermonti again, this time finds Burke. Burke back to Vermonti. He's got many options ahead of him. He goes for the most difficult one, which is Dombrowski, but finds him. He finds Burke. No, it wasn't Burke, it was Gashi. How did I misread that as Burke? Either way, Gashi, only his 6th goal of the season. He did play about 6 games up front. Wasn't really working out as a striker, even though he's supposedly natural there as well. But back out on this right wing, he is a constant danger and does weigh in with a very important goal there. On the 33-minute mark exactly, it's Bayern Munich 2, Werder Bremen 0, and we are looking very good for narrowing that little gap at the top of the league. Hoffenheim need to get out of the way. They're being troublemakers, all stuck in there between us. We don't really want them messing up my 6-month performance review. But Marquez plays it back to Vermonti. Vermonti again, just dictating play the way he used to do when he was at his best for Spurs. He really is getting back to his best for us now. He was one of those players who went missing a little bit last year, partly because I didn't really play him. After we signed Carter for Tottenham, Vermonti was the one who missed out, Vargas dropping back into the defensive midfield position. I think we really missed Vermonti making things tick, and he's very much doing that here for Bayern Munich. Also, both Vermonti and Carlos already fluent in German. The two of them are language masters. Carlos speaks 5 languages fluently. He's only 22, 23. The man is a genius. It took him so little time to pick up German, but I think he speaks Portuguese, Spanish, English, German, and I'm sure there was a 4th. It might have been something like Italian. That there's no reason for him to be able to speak Italian because he's never played in Italy. But I'm impressed with the amount of languages and how quickly the likes of Vermonti are picking up German. I'm still only basic German, apparently, according to my profile. But I'll just get Vermonti and Carlos and whoever else is going to speak English for me. Guerrero, Marcos, anyone who came from Spurs, they can translate for me. And there's bound to be a few others who can probably speak English as well. But at 2-0 up with 20 minutes to go, we're going to drop down to a balanced mentality again. We're going to make a couple of changes. Hammond's on a 6.7 and a yellow card. So that feels like an opportunity to get Leo Guerrero onto the pitch, who can come on in his place. We're going to make a change in midfield as well. I want to get Andre on again. Just trying to get him into the team somehow. We've got a lot of very good midfield players. And you know what? I'm going to make a 3rd change because I want to get Carlos on. I've been talking about him. So let's get him some more game time. Playing as that inside forward on the left-hand side. And we're going to drop a little praise bomb as well. Cross comes in from the corner and it ends up being cleared, but only as far as Guerrero, who's played it all the way back to his centre-back partner, Tigges. But Andre's got it now, and we're looking to get a new move going. Gashi in the wide area. Back to Dombrowski. Vermonti. Look at how well we keep the ball. Dombrowski. This is what I mean about us turning into a good team now. We can just rotate the ball around through all these players. It's lovely football we're playing right now. Dombrowski with the cross. Carlos is there. All 6'5" of him, and he can't quite direct his header downwards. I mean, how high must that cross have been for it to come off the top of his head like that and go over? Ridiculous situation. But we do remain 2-0 up into the final 10 minutes. Ferguson with the deep free kick. It was hit so hard the camera couldn't keep up with it. Guerrero heads just over as well. We've had some chances today. Look at the state of these match stats. 2-0 does not do the way we've played justice. But the important thing is we came into it needing a win. We've got the win. It is now just a 7-point gap between us and Dortmund with half a season left to play. And we still have to play Dortmund at home. I think we can still win the league this year, and that's what we've got to be aiming for in the second half of this season. So we'll go away on our little winter break, have a lovely little winter break time, come back in a month, ready and raring to go. And, of course, that would be tomorrow's episode. Will probably be one of the Paris Saint-Germain games, maybe the first leg against Paris Saint-Germain, and maybe Bayer Leverkusen as well. We shall see. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.